Welcome back, Gemini. Thank you so much for joining me on my channel. My name is Emily Gear. I'm a transformative energy healer and a multidimensional channel. I'm here with your bi-weekly message, and I just want to take a moment to again draw your attention to the screen where my website is visible, and this is how you can contact me to set up a session of your own. That information is available on my website, and you can schedule at your own convenience there. So we are going to get started shuffling your cards. I've already opened the records. Truth be told, I opened them earlier today, forgot to close them, drove up all over the city, did a bunch of staff calls, and now I'm back, still in the records. And we're going to get some messages from Source regarding the next 2 weeks for you guys. Oh, also I did want to mention we are doing the extended readings, and the link to that will be in the description box below. Here we go. Let's get a couple more cards. Two just came out. We've got the Five of Cups with the Seven of Wands to start with, and I just want to get a little more info. It's probably too many cards, so let's just keep going. A few more cards for Gemini, please, for the next 2 weeks ahead. Okay, it's a smaller group. Okay, so we're starting with the Five of Cups with the Seven of Wands. This is the Moonchild Tarot again. Then we have the Five of Wands, the Divine Wisdom card, which is specific to this deck, the King of Cups, and the Nine of Pentacles. Please excuse my fingers. I did something terrible to my pinky finger last night. I don't know if it's broken, but I'm splinting it against my other finger. Thank you very much, martial arts. Okay. So the first feeling that I'm getting is a sort of defensiveness over something that you feel like you're losing, something that you feel like yeah, I really get this sense that you feel like you have to grasp onto something because you're afraid of losing it. It's almost like some of you are living in a constant state of nervousness, like girding your loins for the day that you lose this thing, okay? This is definitely not a way to live. This is like, I feel like it's affecting your physical health, to be honest. I feel like it's affecting your mental health, and it probably is keeping your cortisol levels very high, so it's going to affect your sleep-wake patterns. It's going to affect, could even affect your weight. It could affect your metabolism, period. Some of you may be having like a GI sort of distress, like maybe ulcer type action, gastritis, that kind of thing. So this is not a great place to be if you are resonating with this. It may not be this extreme for some of you, but that is what I'm getting from these first two cards. I definitely sort of feel this sense of waiting for the other shoe to drop about something, and there is a sense of anxiety about it. Or regret. It could be that some of you maybe did not take precautions to avoid a certain situation, and now you're there in it, and you're fighting hard against it. But for most of you, I feel like it's more of a fear. The Five of Cups often doesn't come up for fear, but I just am feeling it that way today. It's like you're you've wrapped yourself in this cloak of fear. So you may be having some issues, some difficulties connecting with other people right now. And I think it's because you're really absorbed in your own worries, your own fear, your own anxiety. This may just be for some of you. Sometimes when I do these readings, like the Geminis or the whatever Tauruses or whoever that I know start scanning through my brain a little bit, and I have to like push them out so that it doesn't become a reading for them. But at the same time, you can feel that this is a specific message. So just be aware if you're not resonating with this, and this might not be your week. But there might be something in the rest of this message that relates to you, okay? Because that feels very specific. Although I will say that a lot of people have been going through this period of kind of facing the shadows a little bit, especially if you are a energetically feminine, if you're a divine feminine. Doesn't matter if you're in a male or female body. There's been a lot of facing of the shadows, especially since the new moon that came up on the 28th, okay? The next cards are, again, Five of Wands. I already showed them. I don't need to do it again. Five of Wands, Divine Wisdom, King of Cups, and Nine of Pentacles. I feel a resistance to a certain truth that's coming in. So you might be aware on some level that maybe something here is not going right, that you need to let go of something. There's a whole lot of energy surrounding what we need to let go of, okay? And that can be people, situations, jobs. It can just be beliefs. There's so many people who need to let go of beliefs or fears, and you are definitely holding tight to a fear. It may be that what you're guarding here is you're guarding your fear and shame because it has become so much a part of who you sort of think that you are. And of course, we are not our fear and shame, but we can certainly mistake that identity for ourselves. And we hold on to it because it's like we don't know who we are without it until we do some digging, okay? Until you go through this process of uncovering, of awakening, of becoming aware. So there is this resistance to this wisdom coming in. Or at least that's kind of what I'm feeling. However, there is some kind of surrender that takes place here. And I feel like this is interesting. I'm getting a couple stories. Some of you are surrendering to this wisdom as it comes in, even if it's uncomfortable for you. And that's really what we're asked to do because that's growth. Growth is rarely comfortable, you know, and this is a heart expansion for you, and it's actually freeing because what it is that you've been holding on to, whatever that is constricting for you. It keeps you locked in a box of fear. It keeps you locked in a certain pattern. It keeps you locked in a certain set of expectations, a certain story. And you may not want to let go of it, again, because you have built your life around it to a certain extent. Like, oh, this is my partner. This is my family. This is my marriage. This is my job. This is my career. This is my life purpose. This is my whatever. Okay? Or more than that, a belief that I have to be in control of this, or I have to take care of that, or whatever. All of those things are up for reevaluation. In accepting the wisdom coming in, whatever that may be. Now, the wisdom coming in right now has to do with, it's different. I want to say it can be a little different for everybody, but what I'm feeling right now is about the freedom and the stability that arises when you are in touch with and okay with your own power, standing on your own 2 feet, not needing to be supported by or control any other person, place, or thing. Because the weird thing is as people, we feel like when we control other people, situations or whatever, that we are protecting ourselves from devastation, from worry, from loss, from fear, from anxiety, especially loss, right? And this may be, again, a little bit of what's coming in here with this Five of Cups and Seven of Wands. But what we are actually doing is disempowering ourselves, because on some level we believe that we need this thing in order to survive, that we need this person in order to be okay. We need the story about ourselves in order to be okay. And the truth of it is that you don't need anything except for your internal soul self at your naked truth to be okay. All right. And the other sort of backhanded thing about this is that, oh gosh, where'd it go? It was in my head and it was about to come out my mouth and then I lost it. But what I'm feeling is that when we do attempt to control these things, we're actually, so I talked about how we're actually disempowering ourselves. It's the very act of divesting ourselves of these things that we are trying to control or trying to like hang our hats on that empowers us and brings us to our truth. The process of finding our truth is the empowerment, not the controlling of anything. Okay. Most of you are going to know this, but the only thing that you can control is what is within you. You have absolutely no right or ability to control any other person, place, or thing. It just is the deal. And it's called free will. It's how we are created. It's how we come into this universe. And I'm feeling like with the King of Cups here, to be honest, with the Nine of Pentacles, that there's something about a radical acceptance of self that needs to take place. Because again, it's that there's some sort of struggle against that divine truth of the self, because we're not fully accepting the self. This has come through for a number of people this week, even just for friends that I've talked to, and, you know, not an official reading, but I could just see the energy coming through. And so I would share that with them. And it never serves us to fight against this divine truth. Sometimes we don't realize that's what's coming in, that a divine truth is coming in, right? Not everyone sits every moment of the day waiting to see that stuff come in like I do. Literally, this is what I do with my life. But not everyone, you know, it might creep in as a thought that you find unpleasant sometimes. And so we really need to pay attention to our feelings, the way that it makes us expand or contract on an internal level. You may feel it in your energy centers, particularly your solar plexus, which is in your stomach area, or your heart chakra, which is obviously in your chest. And this is how we measure divine truth, is how we feel about it. And also it can be measured by, you know, is it loud, persistent, and angry? Well, that's your ego. Is it soft and loving? That's going to be a divine truth, even if we don't like what it says, okay? They could be combined. Your ego could be shouting over the divine truth, saying you're no good because of some divine truth coming in that, say, you need to let go of a person or a career or something, or move, or have a difficult conversation with somebody. It doesn't always have to be negative either, but I do find that in these situations where the cards come out in this way, that people are dealing with difficult situations. They're not struggling with the realization that they're on the right path, right? Because that feels right and they don't need this advice. They're struggling with the difficult realizations. So that's why so many of these readings come out with this advice about letting go, because that's really what we have to do. You let go to discover your core being. We just wrap ourselves in external shit because we don't believe that we ourselves are enough on some level. Even if intellectually you know that there is some wounding within you from childhood, from past lives, from your genetic line, from society, all of the above, telling us we're not enough. And we are. It doesn't matter if you're mentally ill. It doesn't matter if you've made massive mistakes. Who hasn't made huge mistakes, right? So I feel like I'm digressing a bit, but I don't think I am, because this is all very guided right now. Let me just get a couple more cards before I close up this general reading. A few more cards of guidance, please, for Gemini, Sun, Moon, Rising, and Venus. Sun, Moon, Rising, and Venus for Gemini. Sun, Moon, Rising, Venus, Gemini for the next 2 weeks. Oops. Okay. Two of Swords. This does represent a difficult choice. It can represent feeling like you are immobile right now. I do get the feeling of frozen in fear, that you might be so afraid of losing this thing that you feel that you are frozen in a kind of time loop. And that will freeze you in a time loop. You will live that mess over and over again until you break the pattern, because that is what karma is. And karma is not a negative. I don't need to explain this to most of you, but for some reason I feel like I need to, so we might have some new people watching today. But karma is not like a negative punishment. There's positive karma, there's negative karma, but the idea of karma is essentially that we are having specific experiences to gain the soul growth, okay? I don't even like the word karma, but it's the easiest word to use right now. And so I feel like to break this stagnation, you are going to have to make some kind of choice about how to move forward. And that is your power. That's where your power lies, in your own choice about your own actions and life. Okay? So if you have been focusing on others and living in fear because you are afraid of what the others will do, or losing the others, or whatever, you're going to need to retract that energy. Because first of all, in whatever way you're trying to control another person, you are creating negative karma for yourself. You cannot override another person's free will. And not all of you are trying to, but you may be making yourself crazy in the process of trying not to control somebody's actions, and yet still being so attached to that person's actions. You need to know when it's time to let go. It could be a thing too, or a job situation, moving a place. People become very attached to places, and the idea of moving scares them. I'm feeling for a lot of you, this is people, relationship, situation kind of thing, something that you have relied on in the past, okay? And this is much lighter for some of you, much heavier for others. So just, take it as it resonates, all right? So the advice right now is to make that choice, to grab and take your own power here in the only way that you truly can. And that is to make a choice and a decision and to go with it. But you also need to realize that this feeling of fear and this defensiveness is your own doing, because it is surrounding your fear, which is related to wanting to control something that is not yours to control, okay? On some level. Again, it's going to be heavier for some of you and lighter for the others, all right? I'm going to wrap it up there because it seems like a natural ending place, and we're going to jump over to Vimeo to do the relationship reading for your romantic relationships for the next 2 weeks. So do use the link in the info box below to join me over there if you would like. Otherwise, I will see you in another 2 weeks. Thanks, guys. Bye.